I'm a journalist, and I'm traveling across my home country, Canada. On this journey, I'll be visiting some amazing signature experiences. My next stop is in the home of Canada's Inuit people in the territory of Nunavut. I'm in Nunavut, and I've come here on an Arctic expedition cruise. While I'm here, I'll be exploring some of Canada's national parks. We'll be also going to Inuit villages and seeing some remnants of the Franklin expedition. I'm here in the bridge on board the Ocean Endeavour, and I'm with expedition leader MJ. What exactly is the Northwest Passage?
The Northwest Passage, so this is a body of water that goes from Greenland all the way over to Alaska, and it is a very tricky waterway to navigate through. It stumbled a lot of explorers for hundreds and hundreds of years, and as the ice continues to melt, it is opening up for cargo vessels and for passenger vessels such as ourselves.
How do you navigate ice and weather conditions? How much of a role does that play in where you can actually land every day?
We approach with caution, we approach with knowledge, so we're getting information from the Canadian Ice Services, and we approach with a very skilled team of captains and ice navigators that have years and years and years of experience in navigating through ice.
The ice was fatal for the doomed Franklin expedition. Sir John Franklin was an English Royal Navy officer and explorer of the Arctic. In 1845, he left England with 2 ships looking for the famous Northwest Passage. The Franklin expedition and all its crew disappeared in 1848. Recently, Franklin's ships HMS Erebus and HMS Terror were discovered at the bottom of 2 separate Arctic bays in Nunavut. 3 graves of the first men to die on the expedition were found long ago on Beechy Island near Resolute Bay. For those who love history, our stop at Beechy Island really brings you back to the Northwest Passage expedition when Franklin came here with his crew, hoping to find that route. There are 3 graves here of the crew members who died, and you can visit those graves and imagine what their last days were like. And the bleakness of this environment, the gray sky, the snow all around, and it's really, really cold. Just stirs up your imagination and makes you think a lot about what they may have faced on their final days. And who are the 3 people that died?
Well, there's 3 sailors off the ship, Brain, Torrington, and Hartnell. Young men in their 20s, one of them in his 30s.
And what did they think happened to those men?
Well, that's been part of the mystery. They've all had tuberculosis, and they were emaciated. We've been wrestling with that question for about 30 years. Lead poisoning may have played a part. The question then becomes, how did they contract that? But what I'm happy to report is that we're kind of starting a whole new chapter, because until now, this has been the major site. But with the Erebus and the Terror, we're going to be discovering a whole new world of information, and that is quite exciting.
So we just came over from the grave sites over on the other side of the island, and now we're here at Northumberland House. This house was built in 1852 by the British Admiralty, and they sent 5 ships over here. So it was an enormous expedition, and it was in search of Franklin. And what I think is really interesting about this house and this search is that we managed to map more of the Canadian Arctic in our search for Franklin than Franklin actually did when he was here searching for the Northwest Passage. So we have the disaster of Franklin to thank for the mapping of this entire region.
One of the most exciting parts of this Arctic expedition is visiting Canada's national parks. On this voyage, we explored 3 parks: Surmuluk, Auyuitu, and Kausuitu. These remote northern national parks are incredibly difficult to reach. From our expedition ship, we need to ride zodiacs to reach shore. Auyuitu National Park is the most accessible national park in Nunavut. Each year, about 200 to 300 people visit here. We're here in Auyuitu National Park in Nunavut, and that means land that never melts in Inuktitut. And you can come here and explore, but there's little vegetation, so your chances of seeing wildlife are very low. But this place is famous for its glaciers, fjords, and beautiful ice fields. I'm in Kausuitu National Park, and it's so exciting to be here because only a handful of people have ever come upon these shores. We're the first expedition vessel that's ever been to the national park since it opened in 2015, and there's also polar bears here. And I know this because right above me are polar bear prints. So you brought 198 people to a park that only had 4 visitors before. What are you going to do with all the data that you have today from our footprints, from our experience? What is Parks Canada going to do with that?
Well, this whole trip with Adventure Canada is really a pilot project to try and help us figure out how we can, or if we can, bring groups this size into protected areas like this that in many cases are very fragile. I feel like we're pretty lucky today because the landscape is frozen. And a frozen landscape is way less delicate than if it was wet and mucky, which would have meant we would have ripped up a lot more vegetation. So we're taking before and after photos of the visit, and we'll pass those off to our impact assessment team, and we'll see what they have to say about the visit today.
In the Inuit language Inuktitut, Kausuitu means place where the sun doesn't rise because the sun stays below the horizon for several months in the winter. The park is a traditional hunting and fishing area for the Inuit. So Billy has been working with Parks Canada here in Nunavut for 16 years, and this is quite an exciting park to be at because there's some strong Inuit connections. Can you talk about the relationship here with the Inuit and Parks Canada to make this park?
Yeah, yes. It's quite simple. With the park, there's hardly any change with the Inuit. We're still allowed to hunt, and it's a bonus for us for the Inuit, as park is protecting the land from mineral exploration or any damages, and keeping it the way natural environment.
And what about the Prairie caribou? They're in this region, right? And that's a main part of why you wanted to protect the land, the Inuit people. Is that right?
That is correct. Not only the Prairie caribou, any wildlife in the park, inside the park, we like to protect. You can see the Prairie caribou right across, and we can see the muskox on the side, and we have polar bear on the side, so it's good. This park is full of wildlife.
It's so exciting to be here in Surmuluk National Park in Nunavut. It's known as the place of the glaciers in Inuktitut. And it's exciting to be here because there's lots of snow all around us. There's glaciers in the background and mountains, 2 icebergs behind us. And you can just walk around in the fresh snow and enjoy the environment. As the season gets colder, the snow's gonna get harder, and it'll be even easier to hike around. How many people do you think come to this park every year?
About at least a couple hundred are visiting the park every year now. We are picking up new
guests to the park.
And how common is it for a big cruise or a vessel like this to come into the park?
You know, it's very common now. We are seeing more cruise ships come through Eclipse Sound and through Lancaster Sound. It is now very common.
So when you come to the national park here, you're kind of in a very remote area. So some people might be worried about polar bears, or if they fell, what would happen to them? So how does that work if you want to make sure that you're safe?
Yes, we are living in the polar bear country. This is why we do the orientation and registration for all guests and visitors. And we teach them about polar bear safety and behavior of the polar bear. And we always advise and recommend to hire local guides to be with them.
Bear tracks.
As we hike with Billy, we see polar bear footprints and 2 bear dens in the distance.
The opening of the den.
And have you seen a lot of polar bears?
Quite a few.
5?
No, more than that.
20?
More than that.
100?
Close to 100. Let's put it this way.
In your life?
There was one when we went, after we went whale hunting, we came back to the same spot where all the carcass were. There were 12 in one spot, all feeding on the whale that we caught.
Are you frightened of them?
Not when I have a gun. Without a gun, I will be. Like any other person would be. They're the largest carnivore in the world, so we've got to be scared of them.
Would you camp here?
No, just bear there. Yes.
The best part of the trip for me was meeting the Inuit people. On our voyage, we visited 3 communities: Joe Haven, Pond Inlet, and Kikatarjuak. Today we're exploring Pond Inlet. There's only 1,600 people that live here, and it's on the northeastern shore of Baffin Island. We were greeted with big smiles from our tour guides, and they've been telling us how expensive the housing and food is here. Tourism is helping to stimulate the economy when the prices are so high. Rosie Katzik is my guide today. She has 3 children. Besides going to residential school in Iqaluit for 3 months, Rosie has lived in Pond Inlet her whole life.
Sometimes we struggle. We go through it.
And why are you struggling here?
Low income and high price of the groceries.
So what do you do here as a job?
I'm a daycare giver at Inuit daycare.
And are there a lot of young people here?
Yes.
Yeah, I heard that in Nunavut, the population is quite young.
Yes.
Do you think it's a good thing that there's so many young people?
Yeah. Populate more the Inuit.
Yes, more population, right?
Yes.
To keep your culture alive and healthy.
Yes.
So how do you feel about these visitors coming to Pond Inlet on these big cruise ships?
We would like to educate them, and it's benefit to our income.
And what do you think about living here? Are you happy in Pond Inlet?
Yes.
How come?
It's beautiful up here. I like it. I was born and raised here.
Walking around the community, I had the chance to meet some locals who gave me a glimpse into their lives living in the Arctic. I'm here with Mike and Lacey, and they live in Pond Inlet. Tell me about the seal that's hanging here.
His mother just took out the fat layer with the uluk. She went like this, and she started from the top to bottom. When she finished it, she put it here so that the yellow stuff will go away, and it's going to get a little bit wider and brighter. And these, you can tell it's kind of a bit oily. That too will kind of bit dry out too.
And what will you be doing with the seal fur?
First, we're gonna have to, kind of like going like this to make it a little bit more flexible.
Oh, you're gonna stamp on it?
Yes, and
Okay.
then she would, after stamping it, she will go stretch it with a thingamajig.
Okay.
And then when she finishes it, she rewash it again, dry it again. When it's done, then she can start making comics or whatever she wants to make, milks.
Beautiful. Can I touch it?
Sure.
Wow. Whoa.
It's still wet.
It's still wet.
She just finished them this morning.
This morning. So it's 3 different seals?
Yes.
And what kind of seal is it?
Ringo seal.
Oh, ringer seal.
Have you ever gone seal hunting before?
Yes.
And were you successful?
Mm-hmm. Oh,
How many did you get?
I couldn't count. I lost the count.
A lot. You had a
Yeah.
lot. So you grew up eating seal and stuff.
Yes.
Wow.
You grew up eating cows and pork chops.
Yeah. So this is your cow and pork chop.
Yes.
I've had such a wonderful time here in Nunavut. It's been very educational, and I've learned so much about the Inuit people, what their lives were like before, and how they're doing today. I've also seen wonderful national parks that I never thought I'd have an opportunity to see. And as more people come here and the temperatures continue to get warmer, I just hope that it's possible to keep this place so pristine.